And that's why I said when I always start, I always make sure I
You
get
didn't
started.
share it. I don't. You're
I'm
not
getting ready
sharing
to.
it.
I'm getting ready to.
Okay, hurry so
Yep.
we can start.
Shit, and I'm talking to you back there. You good?
You know what time it is? It's time to get in the game with your host, Cynthia J.
Yes, indeed. It is that time. It's time for Get in the Game. And welcome this Tuesday evening. Guys, it's a special night for me. Listen, if you've been following me for all these months that I've been in the sports broadcasting industry, you have heard me talk about my family as much as time would allow. And so this evening, I am pleased to be joined by, and actually here's a little snippet, something you may not know. So that voice you hear that introduces Get in the Game, that's my brother-in-law who is married to my sister, sitting 2 spots to my left. That's Makisha Bunch King. She's here joining us this evening, and she was a surprise guest, not to me or here to the studio, but to my mom, who is sitting to my left, Melinda Henry, the matriarch of this family. And so you guys may be wondering, now why in the world would I be doing a show with my family? Well, obvious reasons. There would be no Satara J if it weren't for my family. Obviously, my mother is the chosen vessel that carried not just me, but my sister first, then me, then my brother. And what a lot of people don't know is that my mom raised 3 athletes, not just my brother, who you all know plays professional football, but my sister was a standout basketball player. Was just telling someone the other day just her phenomenal basketball story. And then, as you guys know, because I talk about it a lot, legs comes from me running track. So welcome, Mom and sister. I was going to say welcome, ladies, but I can say welcome, Mommy.
Yes.
Welcome, sister, to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for the invitation. I think, I prefer being on the other side, but today I will oblige you and be obedient.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. You guys know
Thank
that I'm
you.
always shouting out my momager. And so she plays so many roles in our lives. Wouldn't you say so, sis?
A lot.
Yeah.
a whole lot of roles. The mom, the listening ear. She's the Mimi. She's the auntie. She's the counselor when I need her to be. She's everything and more. So yes, she's lots of roles, lots of hats.
Absolutely. And this show is special because obviously Get in the Game is a sports show. And so that is the main reason why we're here. But there is so much to our family story. And so much of it starts with you, Mom. And so let's start from the beginning because a lot of people are always, first of all, asking, I wish I could have her to stand up. Because one of the first things people say is, where did your kids get their height from?
Right. Yeah, I'm 5'4", but your dad is 6'4".
6'5.5".
6'5.5". And give him that half. Yes.
Yep.
So yeah, that's it. And so I always like to tell people too that you guys have been taller than me since you were 10 years old.
Probably.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And my older sister Keisha, she's like the runt now because she's she's the oldest in the runt. So she's 5'9", I'm 6 feet, and my brother is about 6'7.5", 6'8". But the interesting thing about our family dynamics is we physically, our genes came from our dad. But sis, wouldn't you say that the organizational part of us being athletes kind of came from Mom?
I would say that. It definitely, our athleticism came from that, but it's so funny because I feel like once Mom got a rest, it's like, man, Mom is running, Mom is doing this. She got a little athleticism too.
In her as well, yeah.
I think growing up we didn't know that it was there because she was always so busy catering to us that she didn't really get time to, lift weights every day and be fit and fabulous.
Right.
My goal in life.
Right.
So.
And so let's start from the beginning because Mom, you didn't really grow up into sports, right?
Did not. So yeah, that's really good. But I take that back just a little bit. My sisters did. In fact, my middle sisters ran in pin relays, believe it or not. But they didn't do any formal training, so I didn't realize that athleticism was somewhat in our family. So, yeah. But I did nothing. I was the cheerleader on the side with the pom-poms.
Right. But then didn't you at one point try out for cheerleading?
I did.
And how did that go?
You would remind me that it didn't go well at all. I was a B cheerleader. I did the stump and the jazzy stuff.
The clap.
The stump and the claps. I didn't do the flips and the turns and all of that. No.
But you grew up born in New York.
Correct.
But grew up in Philly, a town where sports, you got the Eagles, the Sixers, the Flyers.
That's exactly right.
The Phillies.
That's right.
And went to school at Albany State where you met our dad. So kind of talk about the friendships that you formed there and how that kind of got you into sports.
Well, because everybody knows when you go to an HBCU, there's nothing like being there if you're not part of the football parties, the tailgating, the game time, wearing the jersey of your favorite football player, which because I didn't have it, I didn't know much about football, I was actually challenged to wear number 82.
And who was number 82?
Kung Fu, my husband, your dad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you know that story?
Yeah, his number was 82.
I didn't know either. That's not typically a defensive ends number.
But remember, it's HBCU, so
okay, right.
just
so they
pick a
do
number.
things a little bit different. So you
back
were
then.
challenged.
I was challenged.
You?
Was it okay, Karen? Was it you that challenged me? Sylvia Williams. I hope you're watching. I believe it was Sylvia.
Yeah.
Who was the sports fanatic of the group.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of became the tag along. Like,
that's right.
You hung out with the crew that loves sports, and you end up wearing the number of the man that becomes our father.
Yeah.
Now,
destiny.
Destiny.
Had nothing to do with it.
Divinely arranged purpose. So you fast forward through the years, have Keisha first. Now, at any point, do you feel like there was pressure being the spouse of a professional football player? Because, you and Dad kind of went from Albany State and then on to where he began his professional career in football. Did you ever feel that pressure?
No, because back then, the wives of professional players, and I would just say football because that's what I knew, we were just supposed to do what I did, be very supportive, follow along and, just go along with the program. So we didn't talk sports sitting in the family room or anything like that, no. So there was no pressure.
Now, this is going to be an interesting question because I've never thought about this until now. How was the family room when Dad was playing compared to the family room when Malcolm, your son, was playing? So you fast forward almost, what, Keish? Like
30 years.
I'm asking her because she's the math whiz in the family, so I can't do math that quick on my feet, but my sister can. So you fast forward 20 to 30 years later, the family room experience.
I really don't. It was like a outside waiting area. It wasn't like the congregation like we had in this season where they had the food and we just sat in a room on cushy chairs and watched the game. Yeah. That was it.
So now you got something?
And it just reminded me of the groupies. It was really interesting how when we would come out of the family room, so after the games they would come up and get us. And the groupies outside of the door waiting for the men who were not escorted by their wives or significant others was interesting.
Wow.
Very interesting.
Wow. And we'll get to this a little later in the show because, then you got to experience that with our brother Malcolm later on. The whole little groupie experience. I don't think we didn't see it as much with Malcolm as we just saw it in general.
Right.
Right. So, sis, let me pose a question to you because you were the only one born when Dad played. And even though you were young, do you have I know there's pictures. I wish I had a photo because I would blast her right now, but I thought that I wouldn't do that to my sister.
No, especially because they have dates.
Right. Can't tell your age. Okay. So, because she's always turning 25.
That's right.
But anyways, do you remember at all any moments of Dad playing or being on the field? I know you were young,
I was super duper young. Maybe like 3, 4, 5. So those memories are so
very vague.
Very, very vivid. Not vivid, I'm sorry, but very vague. But I do remember being on the field, and I do remember, the one article where it was him and my cousin. So, and I'm laughing because I'm like, how did she get on the field and I wasn't on the field?
Right.
Yeah, maybe because she was a little bit older.
Right.
I think
Shout out to Juan.
For sure.
Right.
Right, that was Juan.
Yeah,
it was.
And so then eventually Dad retires, and then, and this is a funny story that I'll share. I don't even know if my family knows this, but when I was a little kid, I used to tell my classmates growing up that my dad retired because I was born and he didn't want to miss out on my life. And so it wasn't, yeah, guys, that was back when I was young.
Storyteller.
It's the reason why I'm in media. I do good at telling stories, but none of what you see these days, guys, is live. But I remember thinking that because I didn't know the story until later on. So I just kind of put math together. I said, okay, Dad's career ended in 84. I was born in 84. It just makes sense that he quit football because his second daughter came along and he just wanted to be around.
Middle child syndrome.
So anyway, so we fast forward, Dad retires, and then we go into the car business. But we were around sports all the time. I mean, I can remember parades with Joe Montana.
Oh yeah, the parades. I remember going to Eagles games and being in the box. That was so much fun as a little kid.
So we grew up with this rich history in football. And I can also remember vividly, Mom, I remember those nights where Mom would be in the kitchen cooking and we would be downstairs with Dad watching whatever he was watching. Right, Keish? You remember that?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Well, for me, it was always basketball. Right. That was my connection.
Yeah. Right.
So, when I'm coming along, of course, we're watching every Bulls game. The Celtics was my team. I mean, so that's all we did. Yeah. That's how I connected with Dad. That was me and Dad time.
Right. And who was your favorite basketball player?
My favorite basketball player?
So I didn't have any because I didn't play, but I came up at the time of Julius Erving. Yeah. Wilt Chamberlain. That was my just because they were tall and they played sports, not that I knew anything about the game,
But just because, yeah.
Mhm. Everybody
and Julius
talked about
Erving
him.
because he played
In Philadelphia.
In Philly.
Mhm.
So, Keish, I think your favorite player was Gary Payton. I do
I
remember
love
you
Gary.
going
I like
crazy
Scotty
over
too.
Scottie Pippen. Love Scottie Pippen. So that's just how we kind of grew up. Okay, so at what point, Mom, did you and Dad kind of have the conversation of, okay, time to get the kids started in something? Because for a while there, it was just Keisha and I before Malcolm came along.
Right. So he knew the benefits of being in sports and athleticism, and you guys kind of showed it a little bit with your height and your energy. So one thing that sports does for children is creativity, organization, time management, and it kept you busy. And so it was, okay, once you start exhibiting a little bit of that, time to get in.
And so, I mean, it was really interesting because the first sport we learned how to play, Keish, was...
I know mine.
What was the first sport?
Mine was soccer.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And I played soccer, and I was like, I'm done. I am not, why am I running on the field to kick one ball? Like, we all had to share. I didn't like it. Let's go run track.
So soccer was first. So my first sport was golf, right, Mom? Was mine golf, or did I do something before golf?
Tennis?
Before golf?
Tennis.
I
Okay,
think
see,
it was tennis.
This is why this show is so good, because I can only remember but so far back, and because, again, guys, I told you I'm a storyteller, so in my mind, I started with golf, and that's what I've been telling people my whole life. So apparently I didn't start with golf. Apparently I
And
started
really,
with
it
tennis.
was tennis, because remember when we lived in Brooksville, we had the tennis court.
That's
I
right.
don't remember. Thank
Oh
you
my
for bringing it back.
gosh,
There's
the
a lot of
tennis
things
court?
I
Right.
don't remember. Okay,
Yes.
so we started with tennis.
Or is horseback riding a sport? Because
Yes. When
you
I
guys-
jumped on the horse when I was like 6, and it took me through the whole town.
That's right.
Okay, I do remember our horses. So back then, it was probably just two little black girls on a horse.
That's right.
Now it's a sport, but we didn't know then that it was. Okay, so we started with tennis. So at what point, Mom, did Dad kind of say, okay, we got to get them structured? What I do remember, and you can kind of share with everyone, maybe what the conversation was like to help other parents figure out what their children's gifting is in sports. I do recall, and Keish, you may agree, that Mom and Dad let us do kind of whatever. But once we did it, we had to kind of stick to it and get serious about it.
So again, you do tell it. By watching TV, watching certain sports, you'll gravitate to certain things. So what we did was allow you to choose, to kind of get a feel of a little bit of everything, and then where you excel in is what you keep asking. When is practice? Where am I going? You know, you keep asking those same questions about that particular sport over and over again. So we exposed to everything as much as we could, and then your desire shifted you to that particular one. Like, for an example, I think you guys played volleyball, basketball, and ran track. That was a challenge.
Yeah, I only did that because that's what my sister did. So I was just trying to do whatever she did.
Right.
Well, can I just piggyback in real
Absolutely.
quick? So yes, Mom and Dad made us continue, don't quit was the key. But I think another big thing with parenting that, I'm learning from Mom, just back when I played soccer, when your kid says, I hate this,
Right.
and they mean it, let it go.
Cut
Like,
it off.
you don't have to force them to keep doing to, impede on the point that you need to finish this.
Right.
If they're saying we don't like it and they're crying, then that's enough.
And you're exactly right, because after soccer, you just did not like it. You played t-ball.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't like that one either.
I have always been very vocal. What I like and I don't like.
Right.
Yeah, I think my sister was like process of elimination. This ain't it. This ain't it.
Yeah.
Can we find something else? But I think too, Keish, you are reminding me that I think the other thing that Mom and Dad did that I appreciated is they didn't force anything on us. Like Dad didn't force. Well, we'll back up. She's making that face. We'll get to that. But what I'm saying is it wasn't like Dad didn't force football on Malcolm. Because he supported him in basketball as well and supported him when he was throwing the disc and the shot put for track, and he supported us on the track, at basketball. I mean, he was everywhere. So it wasn't like, even though I feel like Dad knew our gifting, he didn't force us to stay in it. So it wasn't like he knew you were going to be exceptional at basketball, but he didn't make you play basketball year round.
No.
You still were able to run track. You still played volleyball when you wanted to. So I appreciated that. Now, let's go back one moment, because the Holy Spirit just reminded me of something. I think Mom, and y'all know I'm a storyteller, so I could have this all wrong. Let's pray that I have it right. I feel like I remember hearing you say that when you were pregnant with each of us individually, that there were different things that you did with each child. Like, I remember you saying with me, you would either, or maybe when we were babies, you did a lot of stretching with us and a lot of running movements with our legs. Go back to that, because that's important for each kid who ended up excelling in a certain sport. So hopefully that just brought it back to your memory, and you can tell those stories
that
for
is
our
so
viewers.
true. I did. For you, I would lay you in the bed as I'm changing your diaper, and your legs, I would just move your legs back and forth as if you were running track. And then your arms, I would just, move your arms. But actually, then too, you were a songbird too. What? Yeah, you did sing. Yeah. Yeah, so that is so true. I forgot about that.
So that's what you did with the first child. So then the second, do you remember if you did anything different with Malcolm and I?
Well, you were the same. Because I guess in the back of my head, I knew that exercise and stretching. And it wasn't that I really knew. You're right. Thank you, Holy Spirit, because he guided me. I leaned toward him for guidance, and that's what I did. The stretching, the running motion was what I did. Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward to, all right, Keisha being established in her sport. Then I'm coming. I don't know what I was doing, because I didn't really catch on the track. I was just following. Oh, that's what Keisha's doing. Okay, that's what I'm doing too. And I won every jersey my sister ever played in, and every number. I was just a shadow, basically. I was a shadow, and I did it good.
Which is really sort of symbolic when you have children that are 2 and 3 years apart. Yeah. Because now that I think about it, we're having this conversation, my sister, 2 years younger than me, did a lot of things that I did or wanted to do, to the point when people would ask her what her name was, she would repeat my name.
Oh, wow. Now, I definitely didn't do that, but I just always remember saying, I'm Keisha's little sister, I'm Keisha's little sister, I'm Keisha's little sister. Yeah. Okay, so then we go into high school. So at what point did you guys know Keisha was basketball?
Easy, simple. Again, she always wanted to make sure that she was at basketball practice on time. She had everything she needed for basketball. She watched basketball. Volleyball and track were just maybe the assisted, but it was basketball. Her favorite basketball players was on the wall, and yeah.
When did you feel like you hit stride in it, Keish?
I probably had to be, what do you mean hit stride?
Like, when did you feel like basketball was it? Because for so long, we all played like multiple sports, 3, 4, 5 sports.
I would say when I was probably about 11, actually.
Okay.
And and this is why we had the basketball goal outside the house. This is when we lived in Pennsylvania.
Good gracious.
I would dribble my basketball downstairs all the time. I would use the poles.
Mom let you dribble the basketball in the house?
I don't know, but I was doing it.
Okay.
I would use the poles as my defensive players, and I just love playing.
Wow. Your children will tell you where they're going if you watch and pay attention, and then you just support that journey.
Now talk about the importance of the agreement in the spouses, because one thing I was thinking about today when I was thinking about the show is I feel like Dad had the vision and you carried it out, because he couldn't always be there because you guys were running a business, you had a car business, and he wasn't necessarily there to take us, but we knew my dad was going to be running up and down, whatever sideline, basketball, but you carried it out. So if we needed shoes, if we needed, I remember doctor's appointments for me because I had all these pains growing up, the growing pains.
Osgood-Schlatters.
That disease, So I just remember everything we needed. It was like you would get it. So it's like, I feel like Dad painted the vision and then you carried it out.
Again, I didn't play the sport, so I wasn't very knowledgeable about what it took and what it needed. But I am a very good cheerleader, and I'm an awesome team player. And I enjoyed what you guys enjoyed. So it was easy for me, because he did have the experience in it, it was easy for me to follow along, to do my part, stay in my lane and do my part.
That's sacrifice right there.
Yeah, it is, definitely. And so, but was it easy to do it? Because at the same time, and this is where we get our health and nutrition piece from, because we were in a household where there were literally like 5 different taste buds. Because at one time you were cooking 3 meals. So you were at one point cooking 3 meals, because Keisha, Dad, and Malcolm ate one thing. That's when I stopped eating beef and pork, and you've been a vegetarian our whole lives, a pescatarian our whole lives. So the sacrifice of that, the hustle and bustle, how did you do it so gracefully? Because I feel like I never saw you have a meltdown.
What kind of meltdown now?
No. You're way past meltdown stage.
So, again, I had to have been carried by the Holy Spirit, because when you love your family, you just do what it takes. I had no idea then that I was sacrificing. I just wanted my family to be happy. I enjoyed that you all were happy. So I just followed the flow. And I knew that, again, because my husband, your dad, was a professional, so he knew. And again, I'm a team player. It's follow. I stay in my lane and I follow.
Wow. I'm just shaking my head, because I'm like, I'm taking this all in. This is like Mommy 101. Take notes and apply.
So, talk about, Mom, your first child. And this is, I always get like so emotional to talk about this, but Keisha's senior year, she was who's who in sports, definitely getting ready to go. I mean, Keisha, you remember your scholarship offers in like senior year in high school, and you were the bomb. Do you remember any of your stat lines?
I remember, oh my God, I can't remember what school we played, but I remember having like scoring over 30 points against, I can't remember the school,
Might
but
have been Newark.
Man,
I feel like it might have been Newark.
I just remember senior year like being the year like where I was averaging high scores, points and rebounds, and it was just a really good year.
It was really exciting, and I will say this too about having a child in athletics, intelligent in athletics, because of the organization that was needed. One reason why you were having so much fun, I believe, was because of trying to be athletic and academic at the same time. You worked after school. And then when you started getting letters from different colleges, it was easy for you to just sit down and go through everything. We went on our college tours, which were kind of fun. That's why it was easy for me to be the cheerleader, to visit different colleges. There was one stipulation, which is important, I think, when parents help their children find their schools. You could only go within 3 hours from the house.
This was your rules for her.
This was my rules for... Yes. Well, it's the first one. So my rules were you had to go within 3 hours. Well, because of travel, I needed to continue to be there for you. I need to be able to be easily accessible for me to continue to support you. So it had to be within 3 hours, and we were not going too far north because I don't do cold weather too well. And
I think that was for everybody.
And it had to be an HBCU. I wanted you to have the HBCU experience.
I didn't know that, so I'm just going to say by default I ended up at Hampton because, again, I was following my sister. I didn't know that it had to be an HBCU.
Which was great.
Right. It all panned out. God definitely had a plan on all that. So Keisha, I'm going to divert to you because Mom may not, I don't know if she knew this, but I just started remembering about how Dad would suggest, because I don't want to say make us, because
Suggested strongly?
but he suggested strongly. But I remember how pivotal it was that, like, he had this huge thing on meditating before
Oh
track
yes.
meets,
Oh my
games.
gosh.
Talk about
Oh,
what that
yeah.
was like, because I just
He
remembered this.
did, and I promise you, it really, really worked.
Did you know that, Mom?
It
That Dad
works.
had us doing that?
No, I didn't.
I remember him telling me, meditate on, how you want your game to go, how many points you want to score. And I was like, you know what, let me just try this. So I literally remember sitting on my floor thinking about how many points I'm going to score, what my game is going to look like. And that was the next game that I played. I scored over 30 points and had an all-out game and was like, woo, Daddy know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So
I think I was the child that I didn't get it that easy. I think you were the mentally stronger. Yeah, Mom. Okay, because this is where I think you came in, and it was like Dad had the vision, and he could push Keisha in a way that I wasn't able to be pushed. So it's like you would come back around and soften me a little bit, but he laid the hammer down on her.
He did.
And it was like, so there was a balance. You were able to create that balance in
true.
seeing what each child needed
right.
differently.
Yep.
I can't, you can explain that. 'cause you're the
Vitally
mom.
important. Again, you watch each child. They will tell you what they want to do, when they want to do, and how they want to do it with our guidance and our guidance from the Holy Spirit. So yeah, that was vitally important. Yeah.
So I don't think we've ever talked about this outside of when it happened, but I mean, I vividly remember, and I tell people, I shared with one of our guests last week off the camera, like I can still hear the sound of Keisha tearing her knee that first game of her senior season. You were in the stands.
We were all there.
We were all there. Do you remember that?
She went up
game?
for a layup and got clipped. And what really made it profound was you jumped out of the stands
I was ready to fight.
onto the floor to make sure that she was okay and that no one was going to touch your sister. And what I always wanted to make sure that you all were very supportive and caring for each other, to the point where no team wanted to play
I remember
because you were so assertive and so aggressive.
Go figure.
After
Love my
that,
sister.
oh yeah, after that you were good at basketball as well. Running up and down the court, you played offense and defense. I didn't know what it was until you would go up and guard the ball, then go back and score the point, then go back and guard, then go back and score. And I remember one of the athletes saying, the coach saying, "Get her." And she looked at the coach and go, "Not me, I'm not going to touch her." Because they were so afraid, because you were so aggressive and so assertive at what happened to your sister that you just commanded the courts after that.
And we're going to get
Remember
ready
that?
to go to a commercial
Yeah.
break. But before we hit this commercial, Keisha, I want to divert to you because I'm assuming, I mean, at the time we're like, what, 15 and 18. So
Yep.
it's not like we ever had a conversation like, you don't converse about things that you converse about things later on when you're an adult. But I'm wondering now, what went through your mind when you hit the floor? Because you
With that
kind of,
ACL
at
tear.
that point, we as a family had it all planned out. Like, even in my mind, it was like, my sister's going to play college ball. I'm still going to do my thing in high school, but I'm going to be visiting her. And, like, I was so proud. But at that moment, I mean, we didn't know then that it was over. But do you remember kind of how you felt and what went through your mind?
So I remember, like, literally when I was on the ground and I could not get back, like, holding my knee, and I could not get back up, and then just saying, "Okay, God, please don't let this be bad." Like, that's all I could think of. Please don't let this be bad. I remember riding on the bus, and, at this point it's swollen and huge, and there's ice on it, and I'm like, man, this is, so many thoughts. The thoughts of, okay, we're going to press through. It's going to be fine. I'm going to get better. And then the other side is like, this is really bad. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, play the next game.
or
it was the season.
Yeah.
It was the end of the season.
Or ever
Yeah.
again. So when we come back from this commercial break, Mom, I want you to kind of talk about how, because obviously your support of Keisha after that changed, because there was no more
Going to games.
games.
It was
for
more
her.
about helping the healing process.
Helping her to heal. So we'll be back right after this. You guys, don't forget that this show is being sponsored by Sierra Mims Floral Design and Event Planning. Definitely run over to their website. It's memory spelled backwards, so www.sierramims.com. Right now, you can still purchase all of your Father's Day needs. If you have a baby shower, graduation, if you're planning a quarantine wedding, use the promo code GAMETIME, and you will get a special discount for being a Get in the Game viewer. We'll be right back with my family, my Mookie as I call her, and my sister, Sissy. We'll be right back after this.
Sierra Mim is a professional event planning and design firm based in Jacksonville, Florida. For all your wedding planning, floral design, and corporate events, that's Sierra Mim. You can reach us online at sierramim.com, or you can call us at 904-330-8373. Sierra Mim.
Very simple. Yes, we believe in our product. We get it to a mass amount of people. It's a done deal. We believe that we're number one. And if we're not number one, we'll settle for number two. But number one better not twist his ankle, because if number one twists his ankle, we're coming in the game and we're not coming out. Simple as that. We're going to press to be number one, and we're going to push whoever's number one to the limit. So when it comes to catering, hey, we put that food on the table. We get it to a large amount of people. When they bite into our tender ribs, when they bite into our pulled pork, when they bite into that juicy chicken, hey, it's a done deal. Quality barbecue is our business, and that's what we do.
Hi, I'm Terry McGriff, and this is the Terry McGriff Show. Every week, along with Andre L. Sullivan, we'll be giving you the sports updates that you want to hear, the sports topics you want to discuss, and the conversations that others are afraid to have. Every Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m., right here on the Terry McGriff Show on 904 Live.
Now,
And we're back live here again in the game with Satara J. My family's in the building to wrap up our Mother's Day special. And you guys say happy belated birthday to my sister. She turned 25 again for the however many year in a row I've lost count. But she's now the younger sibling. Don't ask me how that happens. But she celebrated a birthday last Tuesday when we were here in the show. So happy belated birthday to you, sis. And happy belated Mother's Day to you both. So let's talk about how you shifted, once Keisha's basketball career was over and the scholarship offers were then off the table.
Except she still had the scholarship at Virginia Wesleyan. However, you chose Hampton because your spirit was more at home at Hampton University, and I was kind of happy about that. But it shifted because you're right. There was no longer going to basketball games with Makisha. It was more about making sure that you healed. And so part of the healing process begins with not just what we did at University of Delaware with the ACL therapy study. It was about the food. You're right, I was always pescatarian, but we had to add more healing foods to make sure that you did not suffer as an older adult with an ACL injury. So we shifted more toward food, more fruits, more vegetables, some herbs, some teas, tinctures, things of that nature. We started practicing and becoming a little bit more holistic.
And I remember too, even during that time, again, it goes back to me and my mind trying to figure out how you juggled all this, because then at that time, Malcolm's coming up, he's playing sports, but your oldest child now, because there was a lot of therapy involved in her knee injury, but I'm still playing every sport because now I'm determined to make everyone remember my sister. So,
And make them pay.
And I went on
Make
a
'em pay for the
vengeance
injury.
at basketball. So I was like, Coach, you gonna put me on varsity? I'm playing JV and varsity.
And she did.
So now let's shift, because at one point, you know, Keisha goes on to college. She gets an academic scholarship. We're all there to support her. Then I come up through the ranks.
Before you move on,
Before I
I
move
have to tell my most fondest memory of the two of you running in pin relays in the 4x. And you passed the baton and third anchor to your younger sister to bring it home. I don't know if any other mother gets to experience that in such a national event, but that at that moment it became real that you guys really have something special when it comes to sports and athleticism.
Wow.
Yeah.
I will say that I just remember being nervous because for so long I feel like my focus was to make my sister proud, because everyone knew me as Makisha's little sister. And then it was like the pressure of dad, and it was kind of like a lot of pressure. But I do remember freshman year, her being a senior, and us, we did a lot of things together. Our basketball season was together. Our track season, volleyball was together. Track was together. So what kind of advice would you give to parents who have siblings that are that age and maybe either do want to do things together or don't want to do, because you didn't force us?
Again, let them do what they do. But I guess if you're already an athlete, you can really pick up and guide and know the difference. But I was the #1 cheerleader. And so I have to say, God made it easy and simple for me based on the friendship that you all had as siblings. So it just organically fell into play.
Keisha, when you look back on our years growing up playing sports and just how, I'll say, specific and strategic mom and dad were by making sure, you remember the 3 Ds of dad? The 3 Ds that dad had, was it 3 or 5? Lord, who knows how many it was. It might have been 3.
Determination, discipline, and was it dedicate? Determination, discipline.
It might have been 5. You remember, Mom?
No.
I think it was determination, dedication, discipline, drive, and something. Dad, call me after the show and let me know. But I feel like Mom and Dad were so strategic about making sure we had everything we needed to succeed.
Oh, yeah.
And they were also strategic in making sure it was what we wanted to do. Because I remember we each, maybe not so much Malcolm, because, you know, the youngest sibling always just gets to do whatever they want to do. But,
That's true.
And they're spoiled, and we all spoiled Malcolm and still do. But don't you remember like having talks? Like I remember seeing Mom and Dad sit down with you at the table to kind of discuss what you were going to do, your plan.
Oh my gosh.
Talk
All the
about
time.
that. Yeah,
All the
that was
time.
important.
I feel like it was a lot of dad because Mom was always so busy, you know, handling everything in the house. So, you know, I feel like we had separate conversations. I'd have my one-on-one with Dad, which was always very serious, always like all the conversation all the way up here about, you know, life and money and, you know, what do you want to do in college and, you know, just, you know, what life is going to look. He was such a planner and everything was so strategic that he just kind of always wanted us to look forward
Be prepared.
and be prepared. And then Mom, same thing, but it was always so much more palatable.
Nurturing, yeah.
It was always more palatable. yes, those things, what Daddy is saying is correct, but also follow your dream and what's always also
Follow
in
your
your
heart.
heart. So it was really a good balance. And it always has been. And I'm glad that you brought that up because, you know, even now for myself as a mother, it's like, you know, I need to make sure that I'm doing that in my own household.
Yep.
Yeah,
Very
I
important for the
think
balance.
one thing also that I can remember is once you were gone, which was sad. It was sad, but then I will, you know, just be honest. I got a little bit more attention than when she was gone. And the thing that I remember is, I almost feel like you could dedicate basketball to Dad, and I could dedicate track to Mom, because I remember kind of being nervous, like, even though you were gone, now the focus was on me. So it's like, this is what you were supposed to do, and even though you didn't get to do it, you went on a scholarship. And so it's like, okay, now what you gonna do, middle child? And I remember not knowing what sport I wanted to do, feeling like I was good in track, and then Mom coming along, feel like it was necessary. And this is going to sound like a strange question because it's like, that's your mom, but you kind of took running on for yourself to help me see if that was something that I was going to be good at.
I did that.
You did
Remember
that?
when we were younger and we would all go running outside?
I
And my
hated
little
running.
brother would actually have like pancakes and stuff. Do y'all remember that?
No, tell us the memory. We don't remember.
Oh my gosh. When we lived in Delaware, we would go running and we would come back and Malcolm like made pancakes. I don't know how this little boy, he made pancakes.
I do. Yeah,
He
you're
would make
exactly right.
pancakes.
You're right.
Okay, he made
So he was
pancakes.
beginning to support as well. It's
Everyone had a role in our house.
Yes.
it's totally definitely.
And Mommy would
organic.
be like, come on, push you guys.
Let's
She
go.
would be
I
up
hated
those
running.
hills. She would make us run up those hills.
I
Yeah.
hated running, and
Well,
I
you
hated
were
running.
really, really good at
Yeah,
it.
and that's-
I
mean,
hated running, and I didn't like Mom for making us run those hills because I felt like you do it, then.
And she did.
And she did. And so that's what was that, and that's the part I'm saying. It's like you. I think what was different was Dad wasn't there to do it. He orchestrated it, so to speak.
Set
he
it up.
wasn't there to do it, and so you
Carried
carried
it
that
out.
part out. Even though you weren't athletic, didn't know much about sports, you played your role very well.
Well, to be honest with you, that's what any good mother does.
Amen. You're a
I
really
didn't do
good
anything
mother.
any special or different than any
What
other
was special
good
to us?
mother. What was
really
special to you?
was.
I'm thankful and I'm glad, but I did nothing no more than what any others do.
And I think, Keisha, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what made it so special is when I look back on those times, if Mom didn't push me to run and make me feel like I could make those times that were set for me by, you know, because then I was being recruited by University of Miami, College Park, and Mom was like, no, you're going to make these times, and we're going to
Mommy
go
was
to the
your
track.
personal coach.
She was my personal
She was
trainer.
the personal coach. She not only pushed you at home to run those hills, but at track meets, she was running with you to
Literally.
run faster.
Literally.
Cross country meets, running on the field to make you go faster.
Literally.
Like she wanted it so hard for you.
She
And wow.
And it panned out well.
And
It
I
did.
remember, yeah, you're right, running cross country along the side, and I did not know that I was in violation.
And almost got me disqualified, and I was
did.
in third place.
Right.
And I was gonna be real mad if I got disqualified. I was like,
But I bet you moved up to second though.
yeah, I sure did. I sure did. So, the next thing I want to get into, because we're coming to the close of the show, is just when we look back on it, because then after me came Malcolm, and obviously there was that 7-year gap, and just when Malcolm came up and you had, you know, I don't want to say finished raising, but now Keisha's off, she's in her degree, she's, you know, graduated, top of the class at Hampton, then I'm off, I'm in my field, and here comes Malcolm. Do you feel like you ever had a moment where it was kind of like, wow, like the success of my children has sunk in? Did it ever sink in?
Never.
Even still to today?
I still had no clue, and people would ask me too about my journey as a mother with a son who played in the NFL. You know, it's going to sound again, I'm not really much different from any other mother, but as a mother, you begin to shrink yourself and allow your seed to do what they do, to shine. Wow. I had my time before you guys came along. So it was all about the children, which I gladly relinquished to because I enjoyed what you guys were doing. Not that I could live my life through you because I had no athletic background. But I just enjoyed what you all were doing so much until I just let it do. To the point where, okay, let's just throw a little bit over here, hostess with the mostest, and let you know how thankful I was because I didn't have that gift. But you did the pushing and you carried the torch where Malcolm was concerned because of your gifting. As an athlete, as an orchestrator, as an administrator. So I didn't know. But because the gift was in you, you knew.
But what I couldn't do that you did, and I'm going to ask Keisha this, I don't think I ever have a memory of Mom not being there. From the start, and I mean from the start of, because even though I'm going to have to go back in time to try to remember tennis, because I feel like golf was my first sport. But I even remember
Arthur Ashe. Mommy took you to Arthur Ashe
in New York.
That was memorable.
Yeah, but that's when I was like 14. The first sport I recall learning how to play was golf. But I even remember to the point where Dad would have us in the back at 5 Sugarloaf, learning how to use the putter and swing the club. And I just remember knowing Mom was right there watching. Whether it was out the window or she would come out and check in on us. And from that moment, she was always there. And you're talking about running a successful car business with Dad. At one point, she had her own produce business. At another point, she was starting a diabetes organization, which she still has.
Don't forget the travel agency.
Then she had the travel agency, but she never, when I say never, I mean even the most menial events where it's like, Mom, I'm running one event, you don't have to come. She was there. And you could hear her yelling. Yes. We knew where she would stand. Every track meet,
basketball,
volleyball, tennis, even when I modeled,
oh my gosh, that's right.
Always there.
Yeah.
I think in Malcolm's football career, I think we calculated one time out of his 5 years in college, you may have missed 2 games. And Malcolm played 4 years in Miami and a year in UCLA. So you're talking about a whole nother coast. I mean, there are parents that enjoy what their children do, but they can't make it to everything. You were making sacrifices behind the scenes.
Well, I like behind the scenes, and thank you, God, for allowing me to make those sacrifices because I did enjoy it, and I appreciate it that you all listened, was obedient, paid attention, so that I can enjoy being the cheerleader that I am.
When you, obviously everyone sitting on this set is kind of biased, but I'll start with you, Keisha. When you look back on how we grew up, you know, the 3 of us as siblings growing up, the mom we had, the dad we have, the family structure we have, because we grew up pretty great. Having our family vacations, having our structure, book reports in the summertime. What are some of your fondest memories about Mom? You and Mom's personal relationship, because that is another thing that she did.
Let me tell you.
She had 3 kids, 3 different kids.
She made it personal. Yes, she did.
How did she make it personal?
She made it personal for me, and I don't mean to do all that clapping because that is not nice, but I just got to clap because my mother it would just be me and her, and we would go shopping with our coupons, and we would hide our bags in the car and not tell my dad, and we would just talk and hang, and she would just Listen to, I remember, I have a lot, so I'll share
Pick
one
of your-
more.
Yeah.
But that was my favorite. But my second favorite was, I can remember I was probably in middle school and I was being picked on for something. And I just remember coming home crying, feeling like I didn't want to go back to school. And I remember sitting on that waterbed and my mom would just pour into me all this positivity, and just, I felt so much better as a young teenage girl that I could actually go back to school that day and fend for myself. Like, that was the conversations and the quality time. So, yeah. But the finest was the shopping. I
didn't get that memory. And I mean, probably like most middle children, I grew up feeling like my mom loved my sister more than she loved me. But I know that that's not the case. She loved us differently because she knew her children differently. So I'll say one of the ways that I felt most loved was, I mean, there are several, but I remember for me, track was one of those things where it brought so much anxiety because I feel like the pressure of trying to run to keep a scholarship, the thing that calmed me down is knowing that even running 3 miles in the woods, I knew soon as I hit that opening that I was going to see you or hear you or know that you were there. And even on the track, I knew that after 800 DMR, something, like at the end of that, whether I ran the time Coach P wanted me to run, it was like I knew you were going to be there. So it was like just you being there relieved so much pressure and anxiety. And I think the most important thing after that is every single time I've moved, and we know that's been a lot. For those of you who know me, I've been a global traveler. My mom has gone, she has moved with me every single time. She has literally moved me there. And when I was ready to come back, she has moved me back. And when I say move, I mean physically going. When I went to Oregon to work and live, she went to Oregon, stayed for a week, made sure I got set up in my apartment, made sure I had everything, flew back. When it was time for me to come home, you flew out and flew back with me. Denver, Miami, Connecticut, always there. So I would say at the most pressured, anxious moments of my life, whether we were up, down, all around, you were there.
True.
Any final notes? Memories?
So all I ask is, again, that's what we as parent mothers do, and I'm thankful that God had given me 3 easy children to do that with and for. So all I ask for you to do for me is make sure that you take care of my babies, my grandchildren. So continue whatever I've planted to plant in them. And then I would say to other mothers of children who are athletic and intelligent, give all that you have to give, whatever it is that you have to give. Just give you, because at the end of the day, I couldn't be anyone else. I appreciated what your previous guests have said and done with their athletic children. Erica Hearns, Erica Wilson, Jocelyn Mitchell. They already knew the sport. They knew how to do their support. So mothers, parents, do what it is that God has given you to do. And at the end of the day, it comes back to this and the generations to come.
Yeah. Yeah. And the last thing I'll say, because this came to mind, and Keisha, you brought it up, is I think one thing that you've always done well and you continue to do is validating and words of affirmation.
Yep.
Validating and words of affirmation. Because you've always said, since I can remember, I have the 3 most
beautiful children any mother could ever ask for.
And when you hear that growing up, even though, gosh, and one thing we got to do it to close out the show. Every morning, Mom would sing a song to wake us up. Oh, God, that song got on my nerves. But I knew every morning I would hear a song. You don't remember the song Mom used to sing? Every morning to wake us up for school. You've had a great memory the whole show. Now all of a sudden you forget the thing that matters with it. Leave it to the oldest child. They're always thinking about themselves. Rise and shine. And
I wasn't sure. You're right. You're right.
She
Oh my
sang that
goodness.
song every single morning.
Yeah.
Yes, she did. You want to sing it?
No.
Okay, she doesn't want to sing it. Listen, thank you so much for coming on the show. Sister to your left are roses,
Aw.
a flower bouquet for you. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you,
Happy belated
sister.
Mother's Day, Mom. This is your floral
Thank
arrangement.
you.
Thank you to our sponsor, Jessica Dorr of Sierra Mims Floral Design and Event Planning. Guys, you've seen her floral designs here on the set the entire month of May. She does beautiful, exquisite arrangements, and it's so easy. All you have to do is call her or go to her website, www.sierramims.com. That's memories backward. Use our promotional code GAMETIME because as a viewer of Get in the Game, you are allotted to a special promotion. And, of course, you guys know him well. Good friend, Mr. Alvin Brooks. You can head on over to My Seasoned Chicken and Ribs. You too, and tell my brother-in-law he cannot have the chicken. He eats there all the time, so he's not getting that discount. But
He's gonna be
Mr.
sad.
Alvin Brooks and My Seasoned Chicken and Ribs, they're on Lim Turner and Dunn Avenue, said, come on by, get a meal. Y'all know he's going to take care of you. So shout out to him as well. Thank you, guys, for being on the show. I feel like this one goes
Thank
down
you,
in the books
sister.
Yes.
for history.
Appreciate it.
Kisses, kisses.
Love you.
I'm so excited that none of us cried. I thought somebody was going to cry. I knew you weren't going to cry because you're not a crier. But I'm a water bag, and I thought Mom was going to cry. But we made it through a show of not crying.
Yes.
So thank you guys so much for being here. It means a
Pleasure.
lot to me. I believe that your children and my children and your great-grandchildren will eventually watch this one day and be pleased. Thank you to my producers, Mr. Stefan Petty, Mr. Allen, the best momager on the planet. She's on set this time, Melinda Henry. Thank you to my sister for being an awesome sister, too. She's the best on the planet. And thank you to my stylist, Barbara J. there in Atlanta. Listen, if you or someone you know would like to sponsor or partner with Get in the Game, have them reach out to me. getinthegameshow@gmail.com. And if you're not following us on social media, what are you doing? You're missing out. Follow us, 904 Live Network. You can also follow me personally on social media at Satara Bunch on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter. Now you know where the legs comes from because I grew up running track. Bunch of Legs, LEGZZ. Make sure you follow us, hit like and send. If people want to follow you on social media, where are you?
Makisha Boonshaking, Facebook.
Rise, shine, and give God the glory.
So, guys, thank you so much. Next Tuesday, join us here live, same time, same place. I will be honoring fathers in June. It makes sense, right? Because June is the month of Father's Day. So you guys definitely want to tune in every Tuesday at 6:30 to catch some amazing fathers who are doing the same thing that my mom has been doing our whole lives, and that is supporting her children in the athletic world. Listen, guys, we thank you so much for being here with us Tuesday evening. Shout out to my niece and nephew, King and Kayla. TT loves you. Thank you, Terry King, for allowing them to stay up late and watch the show tonight. Shout out to my dad, Curtis Bunch, and my brother, Malcolm Bunch, who couldn't be here with us. He's training, getting ready for the season. My sister in love, Shakivia Bunch Taylor, and my nephews, Pa, Tajay, and all the rest of the crew. Love you guys so much. Thanks for being here with us this evening. We will see you next time on Get in the Game with Satara J. Have a great evening.
We are family.
That homemade Southern goodness, y'all, with cornbread that you won't believe.